Salve omnes, and welcome back to the channel. By popular demand, I bring you a guide covering Jiang Jun, a man literally named after the word general and modelled after the legendary Guan Yu. Wielding a Guan Dao, Jiang Jun made big waves back when Marching Fire was released. He hit very hard. Actually emulated Guan Yu pretty well if any of you have ever played a Dynasty Warriors game. To make it worse, his animations were off. It was very hard to block and defend against him, a bit like how Raiders animations are now. Jiang Jun also possessed a healing ability good enough to make Overwatch players take note, but has since been adjusted to a more balanced state with fixes to his animations. This guide will assume you know the basics of For Honor combat, and you're also familiar with the terminology such as guard breaks, parrying, chains and feints etc, and is aimed at new and existing players to help learn a new character. And with all that introduction out of the way, we can start the guide, beginning with Jiang Jun's chains. Scheming Wind is a light opener with a light finisher. Tough Discipline is a light opener into heavy finisher. Vigorous Sway is a heavy opener into light finisher. And Sweep 1000 is a heavy opener into heavy finisher. Both light openers and light finishers hit for 18 damage regardless of which direction they came from. Heavy openers from the side hit for 33 damage, and heavy finishers from the side hit for 35 damage. Heavy openers from the top hit for 37 damage, and top heavy finishers will hit for 38 damage. Heavy openers have uninterruptible stance or hyper armor. This is represented by a white flash on Jiang Jun and can be used to trade with opponents. This means that during the armor, if you are attacked, you will not be interrupted and still strike your opponent. You will still take full damage from any attack that hits you during the armor, so this becomes a less viable strategy when on low health. As you have no doubt seen by now, Jiang Jun's heavy finishers have the unblockable property, therefore they cannot be blocked and must be parried or evaded by your opponent. When out of lock and sprinting towards your opponent, press heavy attack to perform the two-fold slash. This attack always hits your opponent's top guard and consists of two hits. The first hit deals 20 damage and the second deals 25. The second hit is not guaranteed to land even if the first one does, with the exception of catching an opponent who is out of lock. This attack can be feinted after the first hit. Perform Mighty Sanction by dodging towards your opponent and pressing heavy attack. This attack deals 25 damage and always hits top guard. This attack counts as a chain opener, so allows for follow-up attacks. Mighty Backlash is performed by pressing heavy attack whilst dodging to the side. This attack will strike your opponent's left guard when dodging to the right, and target the right guard when dodging to the left. This attack also functions as a chain starter and deals 25 damage. These dodge attacks have some cancel options available to them, starting with Mighty Sanction. This attack can be feinted normally, however there is a soft feint option as well. During the startup of a Mighty Sanction, press guard break to perform a kick to the opponent's shin. This deals stamina damage and confirms a follow-up light finisher when it hits your opponent. The kick from Mighty Sanction can be used to ledge opponents and wall splat them. Because the kick is considered a chain starter, successfully wall splatting an opponent confirms a follow-up heavy finisher. Always use the top heavy for the higher damage and no risk of having your weapon hit an obstacle. Mighty Backlash can also be feinted normally, but its soft feint option is performed by pressing light attack during the startup of Mighty Backlash. This will see Jiang Jun strike the opposite guard he was initially targeting with a 15 damage light attack. This attack is considered a chain starter and grants follow-up options. Sifu's Poise is a stance Jiang Jun can enter by moving your guard direction downwards. Whilst in Sifu's Poise, Jiang Jun will begin to recover stamina. The stance can be activated when out of stamina, and holding the stance down regenerates stamina for longer. The stance can also be let go immediately. Take note, however, that whilst in Sifu's Poise, you'll be unable to block any oncoming attacks. Sifu's Poise has dodge properties during startup, so when used reactively, can successfully dodge attacks, and is particularly potent at evading and punishing high recovery attacks. You are guard break vulnerable while using Sifu's Poise, so it is unwise to attempt to use this to evade against heroes you know have soft feint guard break options, such as Peacekeeper and Raider. Sifu's Poise can also be accessed via several cancel options. You can cancel the startup of any heavy attack into Sifu's Poise. You are also able to cancel the recovery of heavy and light attacks with Sifu's Poise. This, of course, has several applications. It can be used as a deceptive feint option, used to reposition and to prepare for oncoming attacks. Jiang Jun plays best at mid-range and excels at outspacing his opponents. Use these cancels to force aggressive behavior from opponents and punish their mistakes. Be careful though, this is still punishable when outnumbered. Sifu's poise keeps Jiang Jun safe and at a range he prefers, but is still exploitable if you fall into obvious patterns. On the character select screen, Jiang Jun is listed as a zone attack specialist. As such, he has 3 available to him. His standard zone attack, or Fatal Swirl, hits your opponent's left guard for 25 damage and functions as a chain starter. Jiang Jun can also perform a zone attack whilst in Sifu's poise. This version of the zone, or Sifu Swirl, also deals 25 damage and functions as a chain starter. However, this version of the zone targets the opponent's right guard instead of the left. This is a great whiff punish tool on high recovery attacks that you manage to evade with Sifu's poise. I may butcher the pronunciation here, so my apologies in advance. Doshi's Swirl is a zone attack variation usable after a parry. This will deal 25 damage, functions as a chain starter, and targets the left guard like the standard zone attack, but has the unblockable property, giving this move very high anti-gank potential. Doshi Choke is another option Jiang Jun has from a parry. By pressing guard break after a parry, you can choke your opponent, dealing stamina damage. Holding guard break down will extend the choke, dealing additional stamina damage, 25 for a short choke and 31 for the full duration. You can follow up the choke with a confirmed light attack from the same guard position, but this will be reduced down to 5 damage. My recommendation is to swap your guard after your choke to hit for the standard 18 damage light. The choke can also confirm your standard zone attack, providing that you parried an attack from the top or your opponent's right. This will always be confirmed against assassin heroes. From your perspective, this will mean so long as you parry top or left, provided you have the stamina, you can choke and zone successfully. The knockback effect caused from the choke can ledge opponents and also wall splat them. Should you successfully wall splat the opponent, perform a mighty sanction into kick and follow up with the top heavy. The choke is interruptible by allies and enemies, and during the choke, the opponent will have damage reduction applied, so it's not even worth interrupting. Not interrupting the choke is important because one of the best uses of the choke is when used against a target in revenge. This significantly wastes their revenge time and thus lowers their comeback potential, so either when playing Jiang Jun or simply allied with him, keep this in mind. Finally, choking an out of stamina opponent will unbalance them. This is especially important because an opponent may be put out of stamina due to the initial parry. In this particular circumstance, provided you have the stamina, you input a zone attack into top heavy for 63 damage. Before going over the punishers, there is one more thing to take note. All of Jiang Jun's throws, with the exception of his backwards throw, apply a stun effect to your opponent, temporarily blinding them. On a guard break, you get a light attack for 18 damage. The direction doesn't matter. If you have the stamina, you can also zone attack for 25 damage. Unfortunately, Jiang Jun cannot get a heavy attack, they are too slow and can be blocked. Wall splats can net you a top heavy for 37 damage, provided that you have the correct distance to the wall. At point blank range, your opponent will recover in time to block the heavy. You can instead opt for a light attack for 18 damage, or your zone attack for 25 damage. Be careful using the zone, however, its large hitbox likes to hit walls just as much as other warriors. You can, of course, after a throw, perform a soft feinted kick from Mighty Sanction into top heavy for 38 damage. This will use more stamina and can feed revenge in teamfights, but it's still an option that you have. When parrying a heavy attack, you can get an 18 damage light attack, or your unblockable zone for 25 damage. Light parries are nice and simple with a top heavy for 37 damage. Successfully guard breaking your opponent when out of stamina grants you a light attack from any direction for 18 damage. It is possible to get a heavy from a wall splat when out of stamina. Possible but difficult. The distance to the wall must be perfectly spaced and you can only throw a heavy from the side your guard is already in. 33 damage on side heavies and 37 for top heavies. And of course, parrying a light attack when you're out of stamina will give you a light attack of your own for 18 damage. Direction doesn't matter. Out of stamina throw punishes depend on your guard direction when you throw. If your guard position is to the side, then the punish is zone attack into top heavy for 63 damage. It doesn't matter which direction you throw. However, should you lack the stamina for a zone attack, you should throw backwards and input a light attack from the same side your guard is already in, and then a top heavy for a total of 56 damage. If your guard is in top stance when you throw, the direction that you throw does not matter. The punish is still the same at 2 top heavies for a total of 75 damage. Out of stamina parries are nice and simple. Zone into top heavy for 63 damage, or a light attack into top heavy for 56 damage if you don't have enough stamina for the zone attack. Finally, Revenge activation gets you a light into top heavy for 74 damage. You can get your zone into top heavy for 83 damage, but you must activate Revenge slightly earlier than normal to achieve this. Against all odds, increase attack power of you and nearby allies by 5% and an additional 5% for every opposing hero nearby. Lasts for 10 seconds and has a 45-second cooldown. It can help sway team fights, but you are vulnerable during its activation. Deadly gives you a 15% damage boost for 3 seconds after you successfully hit an opponent. Boosts your out of stamina punishers and kills pikemen quicker. Not for me, but each to their own. Speed Revive is a mandatory pick for Breach. Pairs well with the Rising Dawn perk too. Don't really need to explain why this is a good feat. Benefaction lets your allies benefit from Sifu's poise, helping them to recover stamina. It sounds good, but Jiang Jun is an amazing team fighter, so is really wasted by playing support. Inspire is a very good feat. 20 seconds of you and your nearby allies dealing 20% extra damage is great for attrition battles. This also buffs soldiers and pikemen, making it good in both Dominion and particularly potent for the defenders in Breach, with a 90-second cooldown. Revenge attacks will fill your revenge bar 2% from light attacks and 5% from heavies. This feat's utility depends on the user. Jiang Jun's unblockable zone parry can hit multiple targets, helping him to enter revenge quickly and more often. Soothing Mist will heal you and nearby allies for 10 HP, and an additional 5 HP for every enemy nearby up to a maximum of 30 HP total. This has a 2-minute cooldown, making this a complete shadow of what it once was back in the days of Marching Fire. Tough as Nails raises max HP by 35, a good choice on the heroes that get this option, with the exception being Jiang Jun. Because Jiang Jun gets access to Second Wind. If you are familiar with my guide series, you know that I always advocate this feat. Immediately recover 50 HP and you remove any bleed and fire damage done to you. 60-second cooldown, easily the best choice for tier 3. Fiery Barrage casts a large circle of fireworks. This will blind any opponents crossing the threshold of the circle's perimeter, either entering the circle or exiting it, and leaving them out of stamina. This is pretty strong considering it only has 45-second cooldown. Throw this down near the commander to cripple attackers trying to approach. Fire Flask is one of, if not the best, AoE damage feat in the game. Carpet an area in fire, eliminating soldiers, pikemen, players, and temporarily blocking off the area where it was used. It can be used indoors and can be used to damage the ram. 3-minute cooldown. Finally, Phalanx grants a 100 HP shield to all allies alive when activated for 10 seconds. This will completely ignore range and targets allies across the map, so is best used with a coordinated team. It can be used to help save allies, save the commander, when you're too far away to help him yourself, or even just save yourself. 3-minute cooldown. Remedy heals you for 10 HP if you land the killing blow on a hero. Bastion gives you 10% damage reduction when in a zone. Zones include the capture zones found in Dominion, ramparts in Breach, as well as the healing zone, and being near the ram. Feline Agility increases movement speed the higher your renown, good for some but not JJ. Vengeful Barrier is super strong. 25 HP shield when exiting Revenge combines well with revenge attacks, and complements Jiang Jun as a character, especially due to his strengths when outnumbered. Last Stand gives damage reduction to the tune of 40% when under 25 HP. It does synergize well with Vengeful Barrier, but isn't optimal. Bulk Up isn't a bad option for JJ in Dominion. He's pretty good at holding mid lane, and the extra HP helps with anti-ganks and trades. Rising Dawn is always good. More health when reviving teammates is great and pairs well with Speed Revive, a must-have combination for Breach. My recommendation is to run Bastion, Vengeful Barrier and Speed Revive. Overall, Jiang Jun is a strong hero. He has safety in Sifu's poise and has very good range on his attacks, making him possibly one of the best team fighters in the entire game. He handles ganks well and can shut down revenge users with his chokehold. There really isn't anything he can't do well. That said, overly aggressive players will struggle here. He may be powerful and seemingly very quick, but Jiang Jun rewards proper spacing and strategic methodical play. If you found this guide helpful, leave it a like and consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Remember to tick the bell icon to receive notifications of new content, and please comment down below if I've missed anything out or you have any questions. Thank you all so much for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.